time for a Samurai Sunday. Haven't done one of these in a long time neither. So this one's a little different. So, if you guys remember, I did a little short segment on samurai armor. So, in that I said, not all of them could afford certain aspects of the armor. Like, a lot of people complain, when they see like documentaries, with reenactments, they don't have the cheek pieces right here and whatnot. Not all the armor had that. And like I said, all depending if they can afford it. Or they complain because they're not wearing their helmet and their mask. Well, they don't do that because so you can recognize the character. Anyways, we always see the armor that people sell and you see in movies. But there's actually other armor that the lower rankers would wear. And sometimes samurai would too. If they still weren't like up there and had to prove their worth, they probably had very little money, so they could afford this armor more. And that armor chainmail. Now, well, everybody knows what chainmail is, but if you don't know what chainmail is, basically it's like links of rings put together to form basically like a shirt. That's what it does. So, and chainmail can get very intricate. There's scale mail, chainmail, and all kinds. But it gets very intricate. Some are riveted. Some are just hooked with other rings. Some, I've known people who made some chainmail, like some European chainmail, every time you add a link, you flip it over on itself. And it can get very confusing because you got to remember the last one you flipped over, so when you add the next one, and so on and so forth. So all overlaps on itself, all in like one direction. So when you hit, it doesn't penetrate as deep. So it's actually thicker layered. Asian chainmail is a lot different. It can get intricate though, but Asian chainmail lays completely flat. It doesn't raise up, okay, and a lot of times overlap on itself. It lays more flat. And I have two examples. Now, these are kind of the easier ones of some of the chainmail that's out there. So, this first one is called a 6-in-2 chainmail. So, now, this one's pretty long. I've gotten pretty much a lot of it done. So, if you look at it very carefully, you'll see little rings connecting big rings. Okay, this is what they call a 6-in-2. Now, what would this be good for? A lot of times, this would be added to samurai's armor. It's built into it, the traditional armor that we see. But what this is going to turn out to be, one of these two, is tatami armor. And I'll throw an image up here or over here of what a tatami armor is. So basically, tatami armor is a do piece, which is the chest, a dogi, with metal plates hooked into it. So you will have this with metal plates on the chest part and on the back in certain places. So you can still move and flex in it. That's the one benefit of samurai armor. You can move very, very well in it. It's very flexible. Like European, you can move around in it pretty good. It's just in Europe, they focused really a lot of trying to protect everything on you. Whereas Like samurai armor, they did, but not to the extent as they did in Europe. They really emphasize on being able to move your body 100% freely. So that's another aspect of it. The other form, now this 6 and 2 actually is not very hard. It goes pretty fast. You can weave this pretty quickly. I did this in like a couple hours. So, and I'll add leather to it and everything else. All right. The next one takes a little bit longer. Only because you're adding more to it. And this is called a 6 and 12. Or no, excuse me, it's called a 12 and 2. Pardon me. So the first one was a 6 and 2. This is a 12 and 2. So if you look at that, you see there's a lot more little rings involved in the 12 and 2. Okay? Lot more rings. So it's the same premise. The difference is you're going to have more rings to this than little rings than you do with the 6 and 2. 6 and 2, there's just one ring to each one that you're linking together. Whereas the 12 and 2, you have 2 rings per each ring. So you've got 12 little rings to 2 rings. So it's a lot more. He uses a lot more too. Same thing. You would hook plates to this for tatami armor, and they would make sleeves too. And the sleeves would have little tiny plates, maybe about yay big, rectangle, and it would come up and it would attach to the tatami armor up here, and you have a piece of leather up in here that it attached the front, the back, and then the sleeve. The sleeve would just tie on to it. But that's pretty much it. So my goal is either this one or this one to make tatami armor. Now, I know some people are gonna go, that's not 100% accurate. This is actually how you do it. First off, it's my first attempt, so I'm a novice. Second, yeah, it's probably because it's not made out of the material, iron, because you get metal ones, metal rings. These are aluminum. Why didn't I get the metal ones? Because my first time, the aluminum rings were cheaper than the metal rings. So, for those who want to go, it's not 100% accurate because it's not made out of the material it should be made out of, and this and that. You really need to lighten up because you're wound up too tight. But I thought I'd share that little tidbit. And actually, once you learn how to do the 6 and 2, the 12 and 2 is, like I said, it's the same thing. You're just adding 12 little rings to instead of 6, because that's how you count it. The little rings on here, you're going to have 6 on one. On the 12 and 2, you'll have 12 little rings on one. So, and they all interconnect. Now you can also, on this one, which is a pain, double this up even more. So basically what that means is you have one little ring, you know, like that guy. It's a little tiny ring. Okay. You could put a second one in there. So basically this is double layered. Now it's not very flexible, and it's a pain in the ass. I've tried it. don't try it. But Asian chainmail is actually pretty darn easy to do. Like I said, this is the simplest. It does get a little bit more complex, but not to the point that it's like painstakingly difficult. So if anyone wants to try it, I would say go for it. You can. I got a pound of each rings. They're a little bit over 20 bucks for a pound for these aluminum rings. You just gotta shop around. Amazon's the best one to look at. They do have steel rings on there too. Just gotta remember, if you do the steel rings, they're gonna be a little bit tougher. And if you fuck them up too much, yeah, no, that's money down the drain. So I would just opt, like me, if it's your first one, just try aluminum because it's so easy to work with. And you can paint it. You can paint this. I might airbrush it after it's done, because basically all I gotta do is a dough. So this will go basically cover my chest, and it'll come right here. So that's the tricky part, is making this portion so it looks uniformed. So it'll be a project going on, and hopefully once I have this all done, I'll be doing another video. I'm not going to rush it though, because I'm still undecided if I want to do 6 and 2 or the 12 and 2. I just might make 2 of them. I'll just have to buy more rings, because I'm almost out of rings, because it uses up a lot, especially the 12 and 2. 12 and 2 uses a lot more little rings, but this one you can do this much in like a couple hours. So that's all I have for you guys. Hopefully you found this informative, maybe a little bit inspiring to start a little project of your own, you know. And like I said, you can paint this stuff. The nice thing about using aluminum too is, if you get the iron ones, they're going to be oily. So if you get the steel ones, they're going to be oily. You got to clean the oil off and all this other stuff. So just keep that in mind. Whereas the aluminum, you don't have to. You don't have to clean off. They also make titanium jump, because they're called jump rings. They make titanium jump rings, so you can make it out of titanium if you wanted to. But the point too behind chainmail is if you look at that, can't get really a hole in there. So let me go get something real quick and I'll show you. Okay, so I'm back. Didn't take too long. If you haven't seen my unboxing video of this guy, go check it out. It's my new katana from Hero Swords, and this thing's nimble as hell. But anyways, I gotta be careful because I don't want to ruin my edge. The whole point of it is, you can't really get that much in there. Okay, so about that much of the tip is going to go in if you're wearing chainmail. And granted, if it's steel, it's not going to break through. Same with this guy. So you're just having that little tiny portion of the tip pointing through the chainmail. So that right there, that much is going to stick through the chainmail right over there. So really, it's like getting a pinprick, kind of. Depending on the type of arrowhead it's being used, same thing. Just a little portion of their head's going to go in, so it's not a fatal wound. Won't be a fatal wound. Even if you have an Okazaki, it's really maybe that much more is going to go through there. Still not a fatal wound, because this is pretty much what I've learned in Japanese swordsmanship. Okay, we all know you don't stab through your opponent because, well, your sword's going to get stuck. So how much do you stab in your opponent? Right about to there. So about 3 inches, 2 to 3 inches, what you want to stab with. 3 inches is enough to make it a fatal wound. But if you're wearing Tommy armor, chainmail basically, you're not going to be able to do that. So that's why, hence, sometimes they would kind of double this up, or they put plates strategically. And where the plate set is like near your ribs, you'll have plates right where your ribs is, plates down near your abdomen, and then up near your pectorals. And they're about 3 by 3 in diameter, the square plate. And then just below those, they would have like a 2-inch plate in between the 2 bigger ones. So about a 2-inch plate by 2 tied into that. So basically you just had this opening right here, which you have your sternum anyways. That's a really hard bone. So that's close, a little bit closer to the surface on everybody. That would hurt if you got stabbed in the bone like hell, but you're gonna live. So plus, if you're only getting that deep in there, I don't know if it would even hit you. So chainmail can be effective. And some samurai and the lower ranking foot soldiers wore tatami armor, which a lot of tatami armor is made out of chainmail with plates incorporated. So, because really, when you think about it, when you're a lower ranking soldier, your life does not matter. So, but there were variations. They also had some foot soldiers that had a metal dough. That's all they had. So that's better than nothing. So all depended on what you could afford, what your rank was, and if they thought your life was worth it. So kind of shitty, but that's the way it was. And pretty much in Europe too, same thing. You know, just like nowadays, everything costs money. Everything costed money back then. Didn't mean jack diddly shit you were a samurai. You better have the money for that armor, and you better pay. So that's all I've got for you guys. Have a good one. Figure I haven't done a Samurai Sunday in a long time, so thought it was about time I did one. Guys, take it easy, and we'll see you later.